All right, so far for the proving ground, we've finished requirement 2 in the rubric, which is matching the lighting and the angle of the anatomy of our creature and putting it believably into a landscape. Check, right? Rubric requirement number 1 is we recognize what the image size is in physical dimensions and inches and in resolution. So this is what it might look like if it was only good enough for screen resolution rather than print. So right now, this is 16 by 23 by 72. So I would put 16.6 by 23.9 at 72 pixels per inch. And then I would identify that as standard screen resolution because it's 72 pixels per inch, not 300. You only do that if, when it's set to 300, it is not big enough to be 8 by 10. But if it's big enough, if it's 8 by 10 or larger at 300, then it is good enough for printing in this lab, and that is print resolution. All right. So now we're finished with the image. We've saved it, we've posted it, we've put it in our folder. It's all good. But we have a third rubric requirement, which is to frame novel problems in familiar terms. And so we actually have to write for this. We have to explain how our creature is intended to interact with its environment, accounting for atmosphere and practical concerns. How does your creature breathe, shelter, and eat in this environment? And now you get to think about it, right? And it can be a mythological creature. It can be a spirit that only appears at night. It can be the hallucination that an old woman got when she ate bad fish. You know, you can make lots of sense of it. But by making those connections and kind of BSing how your concept works, kind of pitching it, that's going to help you control the narrative and maybe even see things in your creaturescape that you didn't see before. So how does this work? This is rubric requirement number 3. You don't need to label them as requirements. You just need to have all 3 of them in order to meet all the points and earn the badge. So rubric requirement 3, I'm going to name my creature. You don't have to name it, but I like to treat these like natural history observation posts, right? So like, this is what I'm witnessing. This is the photograph I took. What do I write about my observations? So the winged blanking. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a Greek mythology word for a combined animal. Chimera, thank you. The winged chimera, that's what I'm going to call mine, is, and I'm probably spelling it wrong, and that's fine. There we go. The winged chimera preys on or over an enormous mountainous territory close to Mount Olympus and the palace of the gods. If humans get too close, it swoops down and devours every trace of them. So like decimates these mountaintops outputs, right? However, yeah, so I'm talking about how the creature lives in this environment or how it functions. It can be tempted by the smell of burning sugar. I'll put in parentheses, which Olympus does not provide, because they just eat the other stuff there. All right. And it will not destroy anything with this sweet, acidic aroma. its size means that it can only be kept alive through consistent religious offerings, usually of herds of goats or what else might people sacrifice? Or cartfuls of chickens. And I could go on and on, like BSing. I could say it's partial to cabbages, whatever I want to say. Okay. But this is just about making connections. It seems to fly with the aid of I'll just say mythological winds that don't comply to the usual weather patterns, and has been known to create spontaneous hurricanes? No. Tornadoes with its wings. Why not? All right. So it doesn't have any natural predators, right? It's protected by the gods. Protected by the gods. It has no natural predators. But is doomed to forever follow their whims and orders. All right. I like the sugar part. And that then helps me think about this. So instead of it about to destroy this city, maybe it's like enjoying the aroma, right? Because how is that city allowed to grow there so close to Mount Olympus? All right. So can you kind of explain and think through how it lives in that environment? And then you've met all three requirements. Right, the final thing I wanted to show is that once you've done all of this and you open up your Proving Ground PSD, what if you just take your creature out of it? So I'm going to turn off my creature layers, and I'm going to turn off the specific shadows that the creature casted, right? And now I have a new landscape, right? And maybe that landscape is better than the one I submitted for assignment 1. So maybe I say File, Save As, and I'm going to call this now Assignment 1 Resubmission. I didn't delete the creature layers, I just turned them off. Because now we're utilizing our assets. And I'll usually put resubmission all in capitals. I'm going to save that to the desktop. Now that's a PSD, right? Find it on the desktop, move it out here. I usually mark that as purple. I'll mark it as blue because I do green for my usual one. And now I'm going to save it as a JPEG. So File, save a copy of the resubmission to the desktop as a JPEG. So Save As always allows you to rename and check its format. Mark that as purple. And now if I want to improve my portfolio, right? I can go to the class, I can go to assignments, I can go to assignment 1 and where you post it. I can find what I posted for assignment 1. But now that I've had a lot more practice with my compositing skills, I can add to that. Never delete an old submission. I can add to that my resubmission. So I'm going to put resubmission. And then I'm going to bring it in. And shrink it down. Even if you got 3 out of 3 points on assignment 1, you might have really improved it just by putting it through the paces for the proving ground. And then if you send me an inbox message telling me that you resubmitted your assignment, I'll be able to rescore it for you. And yes, I think this has a lot more depth and believability to it than the original one. Make sense? Not quite as easy to do, but if your creature got really improved by dodging and burning it for a specific environment, you can turn off every other layer except for your creature layer and its shading, right? So it's on an empty background. And then, because I posed it differently, and because I lit it differently with a non-destructive overlay layer, this one, right? I might want to resubmit this. But to do that, I would first crop it. And save it as a different name. Because when you crop, you lose information. So now I'm just going to save this as a copy, rewrite the name to assignment 2 resubmission, and just save this as a PNG to the desktop. And then I can go to assignment 2, and where I post that, and I can post that resubmission. All right, and as always, we are running short on time, so that is going to be the end for this. And we're going to end the class with our presentation critique on our Proving Ground 1. And we'll start next class with assignment 3. So if you want to look at the next unit module to start thinking about a transformation animation, that's what we'll be starting on Wednesday. But I'll go ahead and resubmit. So remember, when you give a resubmission, do not erase the old one. Leave them both there so I can see the improvement. And then send me an inbox message letting me know to look for it. And once I write back to that inbox message, that will mean I have looked at it and I've rescored it.
Is it really necessary to do that? The resubmission?
It's just how we improve our portfolio through the semester.
Oh.
It can help your grade, but it will always help your portfolio. All right. And you want 5 projects by the end of the semester you really like enough to print. But yeah, I think this is actually a nice improvement in the lighting and even in the pose than this one. Okay. That is it.